Out of all the cool superbikes from Japan, CBR900 RR is no doubt the most recognized family of 90s performance bikes. You could try to argue that, mentioning R1s, GSXRs or Ninjas, but the reality is that if not for the first Fireblade, which changed everything in the world of sports bikes, we wouldn't have super light, razor sharp and brutally fast bikes of today. It is the revolutionary design and completely different approach to building bikes that separated Honda from contemporary style presented by its competition. Late 80s ideology, although very charming and flamboyant when it comes to sports bikes arena, were still deeply rooted into making bigger and more powerful engines for motorcycles, and that was the simple recipe for winning performance. Take for instance Suzuki GSXR 1100 or Honda CBR 1000F, and you notice same ingredients. Bulky, heavy and large components, often made of steel, and packed under plastic fairings, sold as a sports bike. All the bikes of that era were the same really, so nobody complained. Until in 1992, Fireblade entered the ring and demolished everybody there. That story is well known to everyone I guess, so I'll cut it down to nitty-gritty and move straight to 1994 when first update of very successful Fireblade took place. SC28 was still the codename for Honda's new flagship, but new nickname of Urban Tiger became a thing. Honda decided to stick to the program and kept the bike on strict diet, making it light and little. No pun intended here, but Fireblade actually is little in comparison to GSXR 1100 for instance. Ultralight chassis, weighing only about 185 kilos dry, worked so well that the engine of much lesser size felt as potent as larger units in competitions bikes. The 1994 CBR900 is pretty much the same as its 2 years older sister when it comes to spec sheet. There are subtle changes, but nothing groundbreaking. 4-cylinder engine is of course liquid cooled and uses 16 valves to fill its combustion chambers. 2 camshafts, 4 carbs and 1 exhaust pipe at the back seemed like a trend in mid-90s. Rubber smallish engine displacement at 893cc wasn't an obstacle in creating good power. Thanks to happily revving light rotating assembly and 11:1 compression ratio, motor produced 126 horsepower at the crank. No shocking numbers here, but 6-speed transmission with adequate gearing and lightweight of the whole bike did the trick. Alloy frame is beefy and looks proper. Alloy swing arm braced at the top looks part 2, perfect components for polishing or chrome plating. Suspended at forks of serious diameter and adjustable rear shock, Fireblade's handling was first class. Motorcycle Press given highest scores for bike's handling, and confident track behavior became a repeatable outcome whenever the bike was tested. Thinking of all that positive jazz, I just had to get my hands on it and test it myself.
Alright, so we're riding the Fireblade. If I wanted to tell you what my impressions are in just a couple of words, I would say the bike is very good. What is really nice about this bike is how the gearbox operates, you know, and what makes it extremely nice, not just very nice, is that this bike is used. This bike is way over 20 years old and the gearbox is so smooth. I've had quite significant experience in riding older motorcycles in my life. To be honest with you, most of my bikes were 15-year-old plus, so I've got good comparison. And I've got to say, you know, this gearbox isn't clunky, notchy, it's just, it gives you this very positive click when you change gears, sort of reassuring feeling that the gear actually engaged. You don't need much effort to change gears, and it's fairly slick and smooth, so that's really compounds the positive experience of riding of this motorcycle. I really love it. Throttle response is nice. There isn't a whole bunch of torque at the lowest RPM, like below 3000, but you know, it's an inline 4, it's only a 900cc. You know, back in the old days this used to be considered as a big engine, but listen, we live in an era where motorcycles can have engines with over 2 liters of displacement. But as soon as you get over 3000 RPM, it starts to develop nice torque, and it's a very pleasant experience to accelerate on this bike.
I'm gonna cock my 90, mother.
Using this motorcycle as a commuter is a painful experience. I'm actually on my commute to work now, and it's a mixture of motorway and city traffic, and I've got to say, in city traffic this bike is rather uncomfortable. Low bars, high pegs, and this very sporty riding position isn't pleasant to deal with, but this is a sports bike, that's what's to be expected, so no complaints here. That's what sports bikes are. And as I said, spending time in a slow crawling traffic, or you know, below 30 miles an hour like I'm doing now, it's all that weight on your wrists. It's a very wristy riding position. Bar risers on this motorcycle would be a blasphemy, some say, but listen, if you really want to use it as a daily driver, or daily rider in fact, at least 1 inch of lift, at least. Now on the open road, Fireblade feels a lot better than in the city, obviously. First of all, a lot of discomfort disappears because the wind pushes on your core, releases the pressure or the pain from your wrists. You can chill out a bit more, and first of all, you can open up a bit more. So here we have it at 70 miles per hour in top gear. I can see 4,600 RPM. At 80 miles per hour, I'm seeing 5,200. or 5,300 actually. Let's drop it to 60. So 60 miles an hour, top gear, 4,000 RPM exactly. Something to say about the mirrors of this bike. What's pretty cool is that they're actually foldable. So if you don't have too much space in your garage, maneuvering the bike is a little easier because you can fold the mirrors. That's definitely helpful. In terms of what you see, yeah, unfortunately it's somewhat typical, which is you see your elbows and a little bit of what's behind you. No drama though, it will work with a little bit of a leaning. Whoa! It goes! Oh yes! A couple of words about brakes. Brakes are simply good. They're adequate for the bike's weight and power. Yeah, absolutely. No complaints about brakes. They do the job well. And so it's time for the not very pleasant experience, which is refueling and spending money. So I've got exactly 100 miles on the clock. And let's put this E5 premium fuel in it. And let's see what the score is. So this was a combination of high-speed motorway cruise and a bit of a city riding as well. And let's see what the results will be. There we go, I guess we can call it a full tank. What did we get? 9.6 litre.
Okay, we can all agree here and admit that whoever designed the color combo of this bike is a genius. What an absolute piece of amazing art. Combined with aggressive stance and sexy shape of fairing panels, Urban Tiger looks like $1 million on wheels. I love the characteristic little holes near the headlights and massive bulbous tank. Beautiful alloy wheels with thin spokes and nicely exposed engine cases popping out through the side panels. Fairing bracket looks a bit weird and maybe even a little silly, but it's period correct, hence no major complaints here. Quality of finish is really very good, as you would expect from Honda. Thick paint, lots of aluminium and premium suspension surely will help this bike to last and shine. Equipment is basic. No gear indicator, no fuel gauge, and you'd be silly to expect a center stand. It's all good though, as those are really just bonus items on a superbike. In their attempts to keep the weight down, Honda used cable-actuated clutch, which works fine. Choke knob likes to move down on its own on those cold starts, dropping the RPM down. What's a knob? Storage space under the rear seat is okay for a bike of that type. It will easily accommodate your ex-girlfriend's foot. Front seat is bolted to the frame and once removed exposes the battery. Accessory passenger grips still pop up for sale, so keep an eye on them if your missus enjoys the pain. Passenger experience on Fireblade is rather questionable to be honest, nevertheless it can be done and has been done. As in every video review on this channel, it is now time to sum it up. Who is this bike for? First answer that comes to my mind is collectors. Obviously Urban Tiger can be ridden as a daily, but rather uncomfortable nature of its riding position and somewhat basic equipment make it a poor choice for daily commutes. It's even worse than poor when learning how to ride bikes is considered. It's just way too fast for a newbie. CBR900 is best placed on a racetrack or stunt shows. It's light, nimble and powerful enough to perform wheelies, burnouts, stoppies and other nice tricks. Question is though, would you really want to abuse such a beautiful piece doing such stuff? I wouldn't, and it seems to me that most of people wouldn't either. prices of well looked after Urban Tiger are close to double of regular Blade from that time. Seems to me that another collectible gem is emerging here, and with that in mind, the values can only go one way. Soon enough, it will be known as Collectible Tiger. Thanks for watching, till next time.